Hello and welcome to Soap Secrets. It is January in Coronation Street because last week we saw Sally very distressed, didn't we? Because she sort of thinks that Tim might be cheating on her after Jenny admitted that he'd bought her flowers and that she didn't receive any. So it's kind of basically all been 2 and 2 doesn't make 5, basically. But this week it's going to get even more complicated.
Yes, because we know that he needs an urgent triple bypass op, and he's too nervous to tell Sally. And also, you know what? He's only told Aggie because he's also a dad. He's not told Faye either, so he hasn't, or his mum Elaine, so he hasn't told anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's got this massive operation coming up. So he decides to start putting his affairs in order. So he visits George to sort out his possible funeral arrangements, and then he goes to Adam to sort out his will. And fearing the worst, that he is having an affair, instead of talking to Tim at this moment, she confides in her ex-husband Kev. I do love this, that Kev and Sally have such a close relationship despite the fact that they're divorced. They make divorce look, sometimes, divorces are really, really ugly, but sometimes people manage to stay friends and support each other, and I think that's nice here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so he tells her, she needs to talk to Tim about it. So she does take the bull by the horns and she asks him if he's having an affair. But he denies it, but he doesn't use this opportunity either, Hannah, to say, so I kind of got this bad news, I need a big operation.
Why wouldn't you tell someone? I mean, they're just so weird.
Yes, I don't know. I think he's terrified, and if he has to admit it to his wife, then it makes it even more real than it already is, and maybe he should start fussing over him.
Yeah, absolutely. And she goes one step further, doesn't she, Sally? Because she then puts a tracker on his phone.
Yes.
And starts to see that, he ends up going to Aggie's for a cup of tea after his hospital appointment, and she spots that, and she thinks that maybe Aggie's the other woman, and this then ramps up a bit, and it sort of is a bit of a crescendo.
Yes, because she peers through the window, because everyone peers through everybody's windows, and she spots Aggie putting her arm around Tim, just because he's going, oh...
Yeah.
This is happening, and she screams. So obviously both of them turn to the window, and she's invited into Aggie's house. And as Tim plucks up the courage to tell Sally's wife everything, he's suddenly racked with pain and collapses, clutching his chest. Has Sally lost Tim?
I hope not.
Because they're a great couple. They really are
a good couple. Yeah, let's hope that that doesn't happen, because the story, I don't know, it works well as a couple.
Yes.
It would be a shame to. I think it's probably just another thing for Sally to have to deal with, and it ramps up the storyline as much as anything. And it's not the only focus of Corrie, because last week little Joseph went missing after being bullied at school, and Dev set up a fund, didn't he?
Yes.
To try and find any information. I think he put £3,000 in it.
Yes.
Because Dev's got that hanging around. But Joseph's gran, Bernie, is stunned because it makes her like Dev a bit more.
Yes. So last summer, Dev and Bernie did have a one-night stand, and Dev was a bit shocked by his actions, and then he sort of backpedaled really quickly, and he said some nasty things about her, and she overheard. So he hasn't been on her Christmas card list for some time. But there is kind of this frisson between the two, so it's it is very, very difficult, and so yes, he did put £3,000 into this fund to find little Joseph, and Joseph did pitch up, and everything was all right. So will the pair find romance a second time around? I like this storyline because love isn't just for the young and the pretty. the under 30s, is it? You can find
Really?
but that's all you really see, don't you, on TV?
It's true, actually. Yeah, that is true.
You know,
that is true.
Romance is not for the 70s or the 80-year-olds or the 50-year-olds or, you know, or the 40-year-olds. So it's nice that there are two people here who have history, who have, you know, normal, everyday, messy lives. And
yeah, it's true. It's true. Now, romance in Emmerdale, not so much.
No.
Because, of course, the Woolpack went up in flames in the Christmas episode, didn't it?
Yes.
And it wasn't a small fire. It absolutely gutted the place. And yeah, sorting something like that out is a complete nightmare. And this week, Chas and Marlon, I mean, I'm not surprised by this, really, but they're shocked, even if we're not, to find that their insurance is void because they failed to notify them of the development plans. So this is a real problem.
It is a massive problem because I think the building itself, the bricks are fine, but inside the whole of the interior is gone. So it's a complete refurb inside, and obviously there's going to be a massive smoke damage. It's going to be, you know, but we all saw the explosion. It looked to me like it was going to flatten the place, but it didn't quite. So yes.
I mean, I have to ask the question, really, whether this... We've seen the Woolpack be sort of a real... It's such a community pub, and yet has been struggling for quite some time.
Yeah.
And whether this will then make all the locals club together and sort of support something and bring it back together again, so it's a central piece. Question.
Yes, we have to wait and see, because they're still fighting over it this week. So obviously Chas and Marlon are shocked. There's no money to fix it because the insurance isn't valid. And seeing no way out, Chas agrees to sign the papers that Al has drafted for ownership of the pub. So Chas and Marlon were just going to let it go, and Al was going to take it over. Now we know that Al is being bankrolled by Gavin, and both of those two can't be trusted. And when Gavin instructs Al to offer 20,000, that's a lot of money, Hannah, 20,000 less, it's only luck that Paddy spots the change in the small print.
Good.
So we now have the contract unsigned, and Gavin puts more pressure on Al to do the deal, and Al is left in no doubt what the consequences will be if he doesn't get the signature. He doesn't get Chas and Marlon's signature on this contract. And then we enter Cain, who along with Mac has managed to get a hold of Al's phone, and so they've read Al's text messages to Gavin, so they know exactly what's going on, and the pair pay a visit to Gavin. Now both Mac and Cain are they're great guys, but they veer slightly to the wrong side of the road a bit sometimes, and this is one of the moments. And Gavin pulls out of the deal and demands all his money back. So the fate of the much-loved pub is now up in the air, and Chas blames Cain as she stands to lose all her business and all her money. Must be very stressful.
But then, having said that, I think Cain's probably done the right thing, if I'm honest.
Yes.
Don't you?
Yes. We never wanted the Woolpack to become posh flats.
Exactly.
It's the heart. It's the heart of it.
It's the heart of the village. Exactly. That's what I mean. I'm wondering if it will all sort of bring itself back together at some point. You know, or bring that this is sort of a roundabout way of making everyone realise that. Now, Hollyoaks. We're about to see the real Ethan, I think, this week, aren't we?
Yes. This is going to be a really good week. So last week we saw the explosion at Salon de Thé, and we left it with Ethan catching up with Maya and the relationship ending with a bang. And so flashbacks this week reveal the truth behind exactly what happened between the pair on that fateful night. Now, obviously, it looks like Ethan has done something with Maya, and he has left the incriminating evidence in Steve's van, his cleaning van. And so what has he left in there, Hannah? Has he left a body? Has he left his wallet? Has he left a weapon? Has he, anything could be in this van. So obviously, and Ethan's had to get rid of the van because it's got all this stuff in it. So we now have, in the village, Maya has disappeared. No one knows what's happened to her. And Darren wants to know if he and his family are now safe. But will Ethan tell him the truth? It looked before that Maya was calling the shots, but we have to ask ourselves, is that true? And now Sienna is very pleased in the new year that she's secured another cleaning contract, her and Steve, but she's dismayed to discover that the van was stolen. And guess what? Steve has no insurance. There's a theme this week.
There's a theme here. But Sienna sort of, pulls herself together, and she's like talking about visiting a scrapyard, and Ethan then realises he's got to act pretty fast to get rid of any incriminating evidence in the back of the van.
Yes. So what is in the back of this van? I keep asking that question, but it's really important. And now Sienna and Steve are in Ethan's line of sight, and Sienna now realises the connection to Maya, and Ethan makes a revelation about just how sinister and evil he is. So I think we always thought Ethan was Maya's puppet, but maybe it was the other way round.
Maybe it's the other way round. And we're kind of delving into the gambling habit again, aren't we? That we've watched Damon struggle with.
Yes. So I think this is they always do this kind of thing really, really well. Hollyoaks, gambling is really is a big issue for some people, really big issue. So it's good to see it on a soap so that people know where they can get help and to what are the watch points for this sort of thing. And we watched Damon struggle with his gambling habit. This was brought on after the death of Brodie, his best mate. We know how close Brodie and Damon were, so he's been getting, steadily worse over the last 3 or 4 months. And he admits to Scott he's maxed out all his credit cards, Hannah. He's got no money. Yeah. And he wants to come clean to Liberty, but before he can, she surprises him with a plan to go to New York.
Oh, dear. And he doesn't want to let her down, does he?
No, and that's not exactly cheap, is it?
No. Right, where's he going to get the money from?
Yes, so desperate not to let Liberty down, he asks one of the villagers for help, but just what has Damon got himself into?
Just what has he?
Yes.
Only Hollyoaks will tell us over the coming weeks. Now, finally, EastEnders.
So, Hannah, I have some bad news for you regarding EastEnders.
Do I need a glass of wine in hand, Claire?
You need a big glass of wine. Danny Dyer, who plays Mick, is leaving the show and he's going to go to Sky TV.
That must be some serious wedge for Danny to leave, mustn't it? I mean, that's unbelievable. It's just kind of, where does that leave EastEnders? I mean, he's, ultimately the best character there is.
Yes, it's going to be a massive, massive hole. He's been there for 9 years. If you remember, 2013 when he pitched up, we had him and Linda. And there's this iconic picture of him and Linda with the kids outside of the Vic. And he's standing there in his wife's pink dressing gown. It was pink and fluffy. He was a man that sort of embraced his feminine side. It was great. It's absolutely fantastic.
I mean, they are my favourite couple, really, and I've been finding it quite tough with her being out of the show and then watching this Janine storyline. But that then begs the question, it's bound to be an explosive ending. Do we think he's going to get written out with the option of coming back, or do we think this is going to be a final it's all over jobby?
I think it's a final it's all over, so I think maybe he's going to go out in a blaze of glory. So I'm thinking maybe Max comes back to get baby Anna, and from Linda and Mick, because obviously Mick's taken her on. I know Linda's not in the square at the moment, and because he's not going to leave, Mick's not going to leave straight away. We've got some time, and I think maybe Max shoots Mick. So,
well, I've got a theory. If there's a shooting in town, I reckon it's got to be Linda, hasn't she? So Janine gets her man, beds her man. She comes back, and wham bam, he cops it.
Yes, that would be really good.
And if the final thing was Linda shooting Mick,
that would be absolutely brilliant. That would be absolutely great. So,
wow, an ending to that relationship. Yeah. What an ending.
Yes.
So you definitely, do we know, just for clarity, do we know that it's definitely an ending of all endings.
We don't know, because I would imagine they haven't written it yet. It's got to be, but I would imagine he's such a big part of EastEnders that they'll want to give him a good send-off, a really good send-off.
They're going to be really sorry to see him go, because I reckon probably on set he's a right old laugh, don't you, as much as anything. On that news, that very sad news. How long have we got him for?
Well, I would say probably got him for another 6 months, but...
Okay. Cherish every moment, people. Cherish every moment like I will be.
So, Hannah, back to this week's episode of EastEnders, and it's all about Gray and Chelsea.
Obviously, over the Christmas break, we saw Chelsea give birth to Jordan very prematurely, and that was after Gray had hurled abuse at her. And then suddenly everything that Whitney had told her about Gray on that wedding day, I suppose, all made sense. So she's now trapped, premature baby in hospital, and a serial killer partner.
Yes, she must think, what have I got myself into, lover? And, and she's her emotions must be all over the place, because Jordan is very premature. And, So she now can't just run away from Gray, because she has a premature baby in a hospital. So she can't just pack her bags and move to another country or move up north or do whatever she wants to do. She has to think about her little son, Whitty's sure that Gray will eventually slip up and they will get evidence to prove that he killed Chantel. Because at the moment, I think that Whitney only thinks that he killed Chantel. Tina and Kush are not in their are not on their minds. They don't know that either one of them were killed by Gray. So it's all about Chantel, really. So they've got Kirat on board to help them out as well. Now, we saw Kirat knew something, that Chantel's marriage to Gray wasn't quite right, and he was trying to help her while she was getting murdered. So he knows not quite to trust Gray. So Kirat's on board. So they do have a guy helping them out. And they tell her she just has to keep playing happy families until Gray makes this slip up. But this week, Gray is keen to register little Jordan's birth, but Chelsea doesn't want his name on her son's birth certificate, because that will always tie her to him. Yeah. Whereas if she puts, I don't know, father unknown, it sort of gives her a little bit of wiggle room, I suppose, really. But Gray is keeping Chelsea almost a prisoner in their home. Jordan seems to be stable in hospital, so he says they don't need to be there round the clock. So that must be very distressing for Chelsea, because she probably wants to sit by her son's cot side. And she needs her passport to register Jordan birth herself. Otherwise, I think normally a couple would go together. But Gray. So this is Chelsea has to find her passport, and because Gray is always around at home, this is making it impossible for Chelsea to go looking for it. To try and give Chelsea some space, Kirat invites Gray to the Vic to wet the baby's head. Will Chelsea be able to register baby Jordan's birth herself, or will she be caught?
I mean, it's about time that Gray, the wheels need to come off now. I mean, it's kind of enough's enough, isn't it? So maybe this is the unravelling.
Yes.
There's another storyline that's bothering me, though. Linda and Mick, because obviously Linda didn't come back at Christmas, and Janine is now absolutely determined to make Mick her man, and then goes one step further by asking him to fake being a couple because she's got a meeting with a social worker. And then she really, has she got him where she wants him? I mean, is this what? Surely not. Surely this can't happen.
Well, we'll have to wait and see where this goes. He agrees to be a couple for this meeting with a social worker to get Scarlett away from Kat.
Right, okay.
Kat is looking after Scarlett because she is half-sister to Kat's son, Tommy. They share the same father. Sorry, Kat's been looking after Scarlett. And I really don't know why Janine wants Scarlett back, because she left her in a children's home for a long time, because little Scarlett's now, I think she's about 9. So it's not like she's been a constant presence in her life.
No.
So we'll have to wait and see. Of course, Mick and Linda always belong together. But, Mick is, he's on his own. He's struggling to cope. He's got she's probably being very kind and nice to him. She's sexy. He might well weaken.
Over time. Come back, Linda. Come back. Wow, it's a pretty good start to the year, isn't it, on the soaps? Lots to talk about. But we will be back next week with even more gossip and hopefully the final unravelling of Grey, although I fear it may be a little longer than just 1 week. But thank you as ever for listening, and we'll be back next week.